So the carnival season is over. So nice to have you all here with us once again. I am Keegs and I'm here with Pastor J of Hope City, the new church plant helping persons to find their hope in Christ regardless of what they face. Come as you are, no perfect people allowed. Right? So you behind the camera, you would not see, but every time we shoot episodes, Jay and I just talk a little bit to warm up before we actually shoot. Right? And today, a little bit before, you were speaking about how important this whole Lenten journey and Easter is to Hope City. So for the viewers, just explain to us why is it so important to Hope City, and then also give them an idea of what we're going to do over these next few weeks leading up to Easter.
Yeah, so like you said, Keegs, we're in the Lent season now. Everybody will focus and what we're leading up to is Easter, and we're not going to get too much into if Easter was when Jesus was crucified and all that, but it is the time when the world recognizes that. And as a follower of Christ, recognizing that is the most important thing in our faith, because that's what differentiates our faith as opposed to every other thing. And so for us at Hope City, the reason why it's actually so personal to us and the team, Hope City was built for two specific purposes. It is to reach the unsaved with the love of Christ and to disciple those that God sends us. So the first one, which is preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, that's what we're celebrating in Easter. So it just falls completely, that's the reason we exist. So it is very important. So with that in mind, in the weeks leading up to Easter, we just thought, was the most important thing when coming into the crucifixion. We thought, well, when Jesus was going to be crucified, he made 7 statements during the crucifixion. And I just believe, you can look at it in the natural. We don't even have to over spiritualize. If somebody knows that they're going to pass away, that their time coming to an end, we just believe we all would live differently. We'd be more focused, we'd be more intentional. So we think even in the midst of our pain and our suffering, the words that Christ said, I don't think it's just by chance. And so we just want to see what we can glean from it in the coming weeks.
And just looking at the crucifixion, point to note, and I'm going to read this story from me, is so strange. How quickly he went from hero to villain, as they say now, 0 to 100. And then even today, right, while they might read the whole story and say, wait, how is the good switch on them like that? But even today, pop culture, somebody's the hero today, and then the wrong post, the wrong tweet, and tomorrow, that is it.
You crucify them.
Exactly. Right, so it all just comes back around, right? So we're talking about these 7 statements, right? Like I said, throughout the whole journey of the crucifixion. So let me get into it and just introduce us the first statement.
Alright, so just imagine that he is put on trial, falsely convicted. You have Bible records, fake people giving testimonies and stuff. So like I say, they paint him as a villain. Right? He is beaten, spat on, mocked, all that. So he's taken his journey, and now they've crucified him. And what's key to note, they crucified him between 2 criminals. So basically, crucifixion was a normal means of death at that time. And so we don't want to over sell it that he was crucified. It was a common way to die, but it was a common way for criminals. What made this difference was Christ was innocent. So he was there. So when they actually crucify him, Luke's gospel tells us one of the first things Jesus says, he looks at them and he says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. And then they divided his garments and whatever, and they continue. The first statement that Christ makes, Christ forgives these people. And what's amazing is he's hanging on the cross. So he's bleeding, he's in pain, he's suffering. And he says, Father, forgive them. Go ahead, kids.
Christ is Christ. Christ is Christ. Right? That being said, understanding that yes, he is on the cross, even in his godliness, Christ was still born a human being,
He's
so
so
we
mad.
understand the
He's
pain,
so mad, yes.
all of that, right? But you and I, right? We are not Christ, right? How are we expected to, in our own adversities and crucifixion, be able to replicate this?
So I'd say, first thing off, forgiveness is not easy. And honestly, kids, I believe it begins with humility.
Alright.
And that might sound unrelated, but here it is. Christ forgave these people. Just imagine. Yes, any suffering, any pain, and which is something we can't even sort of understand. Because when we go through our pain, the first thing we want is revenge, or to see that person pay.
We are over
for
it. Yeah, we are to get
we
through those
are
feelings
first, right?
But
But Christ sets a very high standard. He's like, even while they're doing it. But here's one of the keys where I think humility plays a big part. Christ forgives these people even before they themselves recognize they've done wrong. Right? So it's not based on the other person getting it right game. Because sometimes we wait for that. So I believe like one of the ways that we are empowered to forgive, like how Christ forgave, one of the key things is really that humility. When it's not about the other person, it's not even about what they're doing. But we see the example of Christ and we take to follow Christ, because we are Christians. Christ follow us. We have to follow his example. Not saying it's easy, right? But in Romans 5:8, and this is where I'm pulling it from, God demonstrates his own love towards us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. So Christ didn't just do that for the people crucifying him. He did it for us. We didn't even know. We didn't even recognize that we were wrong. We didn't even recognize our sinful nature. Somebody had to come and open our eyes to that. And that's the key thing. Many times we wait to qualify people to see if they deserve our forgiveness. We didn't deserve Christ's forgiveness, but he forgave us. Because of that, that's how it's in that understanding we have to live with everyone else. Say it.
Like you said, definitely it's not an easy thing to do. To process all of that in your head at the same time while you're feeling all the emotions that's just almost unfathomable, right? Like
it feels impossible. Like I know. and so I think that's why the last thing I would have to encourage people with is that you have to depend on God's power to forgive. Right? But I think just like what we said, you have to first humble yourself to recognize, listen, this person keeps you doing me real wrong there. You know, you hurt me, you betray my trust, whatever. But my mind has to go back, but you know what, Christ, my God, you forgave me. Even when I used to speak wrong and do evil. Even when I know good better now, I still mess up. And he still forgives. So, for you, like, you know, I have no choice then, you know. But it also takes God's power. Ephesians 4:32 says, and be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. It is always bringing our perspective back. So the power that God gives to forgive comes from our recognition that he forgives us. And that's the power you have to pull on. Not the person, not if they acknowledge, not even if they say sorry. You get it? I mean, it's taking the focus off of the person who do you wrong to recognizing the grace that God has given us.
Like
you're struggling with this one.
No, you know, see what's the biggest problem for me with forgiveness, right? At the time when forgiveness is required, I do have a problem with forgiveness. I do have a problem with, even as they say, forgive and forget. Where I struggle is the feeling behind the incident is always there. And then it may be months down the line, it may be years down the line, something similar happens. And I may not even remember the first time anything like it happened, but the feeling is there again.
It is invoked.
Yes, it's familiar, and then it brings back
the memory
of what happened before. So that now brings a different aspect of how difficult the whole forgiveness thing becomes. Well, I say for me, but I'm sure for a lot of us, right? So how do we respond to that familiar feeling setting you off or becoming a trigger again?
I think That's why it's a daily walk.
Yeah.
And I'll pray back to the example. When we walk with Christ, every day, one of the things he says is to crucify the flesh daily. The reason being, we might have a good day today, doing all that we want to do for God, according to His will, and then tomorrow comes. It's like we are different creatures sometimes. And I'm saying that, with that, it's a daily walk, so that when those days come up where you are remembering those things, it is to revisit not the incident that you heard, but revisit our God. You've given me the grace. In my life, you ask for His help. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like at the end of it, He has to empower us. This is not logic where we're gonna say that you make up your mind that you're gonna forgive and it happens. No. There's a part of it that God has to come and do the healing, help us walk through this process as well. So when those feelings are evoked and they come up because of some trigger, you gotta run back to the cross where we started, where He made the statement. Right. So the power is in the cross and what Christ did.
That's not a bad place to end, but still, you have anything that you want to add before we close off this episode?
No, I think it's a heavy topic. It's one that we just touch on the surface, but it's really just if there's some place of unforgiveness in your life, we hope this conversation brings it to light and hopefully puts you on the right steps towards dealing with it.
Nice. So that was our first conversation here as we head in to the Lenten journey, taking us to Easter with Hope City. It was nice having you all again. Continue to follow, like, comment, share all the posts on Facebook and Instagram, and tune in next time for another episode as we continue our journey with Hope City. I'm Keegs, this is Pastor J, and remember, come as you are, no perfect people allowed.